Hey, thanks for checking out the Next Level Radio YouTube page. If you like what you hear, head to nextlevelradioonline.com. Find other podcasts and interviews that aren't included on the YouTube page, including guests such as Chris Parnell from SNL and Archer, Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway, Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy, even Chris Allen from American Idol, and much more. You can also download our podcasts on iTunes and Stitcher, or stream them straight from our website at nextlevelradioonline.com. Also on the webpage, you'll find links to our Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you follow us to keep updated on everything we have going on and everything we have coming up. nextlevelradioonline.com also gives you coverage of events such as Philadelphia Comic-Con, and you can even check out our staff blog that includes movie reviews and much more. Again, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and head over to nextlevelradioonline.com for much more. Thanks for listening.
Get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
By the way, Hamish Linklater.
That's it.
That's the guy who you're thinking of.
That's it. Wow, that's probably going to pick up.
Who's backing up?
I know.
What are you getting, a delivery?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just come on in, fellas. Put it right.
Hey there, this is Jimmy Simpson.
Hi, it's Selena Jade.
This is Kevin Murphy.
And you are listening to
The Showcast on
Next Level Radio.
Next Level Radio. Have fun.
We are back with another podcast, Showcast podcast.
I was going to say, we have a name.
I know. Episode 7, Season 2, Episode 7 of the Showcast. I am Ben Beck, joined by Adam Gorey once again. However, no Steve this week. He unfortunately, which kind of sucks, because he was with us leading all the way up to the Oscars. And then now he's
important show.
Yeah, now he's not going to be here with us to recap them. But I don't know. I think we can. I think this is a good opportunity to talk some shit on him. And
yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll get into Oscar talk later. So.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was fun. We, Adam, myself, and Steve, we all live tweeted during the Oscars this weekend. Last night for us right now, but who knows when you're going to be listening to this.
Broke my live tweet cherry.
Yeah, we all did.
Or popped it.
We all did. We popped our live tweet cherry. It's a weird way to put it. But it was fun. We had a good time doing it. So
no, it was fun. I liked it, yeah.
We'll keep doing it, hopefully. Maybe some other events that come up.
Like the CMA Awards.
Oh, you can live tweet during the CMA Awards. I'm going to be watching something else.
I don't even know.
I think they did, actually. But we have another packed podcast for you this week. We're going to, as we said, we're going to recap the Oscars from this past weekend. And we are also going to speak with Greg Proops from Whose Line Is It Anyway, as well as stand-up and his own podcast, which we will delve into with him when we get the chance to talk to him a little bit later on into the podcast.
The Proopster.
So, what do you say we move this forward and let's hit the box office?
Milk was a bad choice.
How's the box office this weekend?
Dishonorable mention goes to number 7, opening up Hot Tub Time Machine 2, bringing in a measly $5.9 million. That one has a, what did I say before? Just a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. 43 from the audience.
Not that good.
Yeah, not getting good reviews. Number 5, opening up The Duff, 10.8 mil. That one, The Duff actually has a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is actually surprising to me.
Which has, Robbie Amell.
Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's cousin from from Arrow. And Robbie Amell's actually in The Flash now.
Firestorm,
yes. Along with the captain of the Titanic.
Captain
the other guy, the guy who plays the other half of Firestorm was the captain.
Victor Garber was the captain in Titanic?
No, I'm sorry, not the captain. The guy who, the architect of the Titanic.
I was going to say he wasn't. I'm pretty sure Victor Garber was not the captain of the Titanic.
Yeah, he wasn't the captain. He was the architect, but he was on the ship. He still went down with the ship.
Gotcha.
In the movie, for those who don't realize what we're talking about.
For
those of you who are too young for the Titanic movie with Leo.
I'll tell you something else Victor Garber was in that I actually really enjoyed was Alias, which was another J.J. Abrams. Alias. With Jennifer Garner.
Oh, Alias.
The ABC show.
It's like
Alias, yes.
Okay, I got you.
No, not Aliens.
Yeah. That makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Number 4, also opening, McFarland USA, 11 million at the box office. That one is the Kevin Costner film. 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91 from the audience. So that's a great audience rating.
That's pretty impressive.
The top 3 stay the exact same. So if you listened to the podcast last week, if you didn't, go to nextlevelradioonline.com or subscribe on iTunes. SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, staying at number 3, 16.5. Kingsman: The Secret Service, staying at number 2, 18.3. And 50 Shades of Crappy movie, number 1, 22.2 million.
It's funny though, cause I know, in this second week, ticket sales dropped off like 70%.
Jamie Dornan, the guy who played the lead character, already backed out of the sequels.
Good.
So, 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. Still number 1 though, at the box office.
It's, 70% drop off in ticket sales, and it's because word got out that the movie is not that good.
Yeah. Number 1 at the box office, number 357 in your hearts.
Really?
As for movies coming out this week, Will Smith's new movie, Focus, with Margot Robbie and a few other people. It looks kind of dumb. It might finish in the top 5. It might not. I'm not really sure. It does not look good.
I don't know where this is going to end up, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah, it does not have a score yet on Rotten Tomatoes, so I can't give you any type of hint. Also coming out, The Lazarus Effect with Olivia Wilde, Mark Duplass, Evan Peters. I think you've seen the preview for this, right? The group of medical students discover a way to bring back dead patients from the dead.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little similar to Flatliners, which was a movie from the mid '80s about people dying and then bringing them back to life. Although I think this one has a little bit more of a twist to it, because I think from the looks of the trailer, it looks like when Olivia Wilde comes back from the dead, she's almost demonic.
Yeah, she's like possessed or something.
Yeah, which is different from Flatliners, because Flatliners, when they come back, they're still normal when they come back.
Would you still do her though?
Oh my god.
She like back from the dead possessed. You're like, yeah, I'd still.
Yeah, I still wouldn't kick her out of bed.
Yeah. That's only an hour and 20 minutes long, so I mean, go see it. It's not a waste of a lot of time. You could, waste more time watching 50 Shades of Grey. So
yeah, I'm sorry. Unless the ticket price is discounted because it's only an hour and 20, I do not pay full price for a movie ticket to go see a movie in a theater that's only an hour and 20 minutes.
That's a good point, I guess. Drama coming out this week with Julianne Moore. Oscar winner, by the way. Julianne Moore. Maps to the Stars. That one actually has a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. Robert Pattinson's also in that movie, and John Cusack. I haven't heard much about it, but it's a tour into the heart of a Hollywood family chasing celebrity, one another, and the relentless ghosts of their past. So, sounds interesting.
Nice.
Also coming out, a action drama thriller. It's called 71. Young and disoriented British soldier is accidentally abandoned by his unit following a riot on the deadly streets of Belfast in 1971. Aptly named. Also coming out, documentary, My Life, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. R-E-F-N? Refn?
I'm not sure.
Nicholas Winding Refn.
Winding Road, yes.
Yeah. And then you also have Everly coming out, which is Selma Hayek. New Selma Hayek movie. Any of those you think I guess if anything is a top 5 option. This is a bad week, I think, but if anything, Focus, I guess, could just squeeze in the top 5.
Yeah, I can see Focus opening up maybe at 5, number 5. I don't see it going any higher than that, or lower than that, rather. So,
I would agree. Yeah.
I unfortunately think 50 Shades is still going to stay in the top 3.
Well,
I know.
I don't know. It's 70% drop. Kingsman only had a 49% drop. It actually, like last week, it lost by a pretty fair margin. It only lost by 4 million this week. Kingsman. So Kingsman could actually jump it.
Kingsman, I think, I'm going to say that I said it last week and I'll say it again. Kingsman is a fantastic movie. And I can tell you, I didn't say this last week, but I can say it now. When you go into that movie, which I hope eventually you do get to go see it, you will never hear the song Freebird the same way again.
Oh boy.
Because there is a scene that is set to Freebird that is...
Don't a lot of people die?
It is one of the craziest scenes in that entire movie. You will never hear that song the same way again.
Well, now I'm excited. So.
Yeah.
But that does it for this week at the box office.
All right, moving on to my end of things with the Blu-ray and DVD releases for the week. Starting off, not too many to mention, maybe only 2 or 3. Starting off this week, Horrible Bosses 2, starring Jason Bateman, Charlie Day, and Jason Sudeikis. Speaking of Olivia Wilde, Jason Sudeikis, her, I don't know if her fiance or husband at this point. I'm not sure.
They have a kid together. I don't know if they're married though.
Yeah, I don't think they're married. I think they're just like together.
Yeah.
So,
jeez,
I know. Hey, but if anything, that is proof positive that somebody beautiful can be with somebody who's funny.
Yes, there's hope for you yet.
True. 54.3 million at the box office, only a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes, 53% from the audience. I got to see the screening of this. Yeah, I did. I saw the screening of it when it was out, the advanced screening. I say it suffers from the Hangover syndrome, as in the sequel. It's the same exact jokes. So, there were definitely some moments that were funny, but it wasn't nearly as good as the original. So, if you're a fan of Jason Bateman and Charlie Day and Sudeikis like I am, it's at least worth the rent. I would pass on buying though. So,
yeah, I'll give it a Netflix.
Yeah, it's definitely a Netflix one just to check it out. Next up, coming out this week, this is a biggie, Big Hero 6, with voice talents by T.J. Miller and Damon Wayans Jr.
Foreshadowing.
218.5 million at the box office. Currently at a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, 92.
That's foreshadowing.
I figured as much.
Because that clip is labeled winner.
Yeah. 92% from the audience. I saw it. I loved it. I think it's a great movie. It robbed another movie, but we'll get to that later.
I will use a short description for Big Hero 6. Disney, Marvel. That's all you need to know.
And yeah, I will make something to that note a little bit later on when we recap the Oscars.
Yeah, I'll give it a buy, by the way.
It's an absolute buy for me. The movie's fantastic. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Disney movies. And finally coming out this week on Blu-ray and DVD is Whiplash, starring Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons. Limited release in theaters, so it only made about 9.6 million at the box office, but currently at a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, 96 for the audience. This is an absolute buy for me as well. I loved this movie. Is that your way of saying it's a buy? Okay.
Yeah.
Another movie that we'll get to talk about when we recap the Oscars a little bit later on in the podcast. So, that is going to wrap it up for my end with the box office. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to speak with the one and only Greg Proops, from Whose Line Is It Anyway? So stick around.
Hey, this is Lucky Yates. I play Dr. Krieger on the show Archer on FX. You're listening to Next Level Radio.
Well, our guest this week is best known for his appearances on the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? But if you're a fan of comedy at all, I'm sure you've seen him many other places as well. TV, video games, movies, podcasts. He's done a bit of it all. Pretty soon, a book. After all, he is the smartest man in the world. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Greg Proops. Greg, thanks for spending some time with us.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Ben. Hello, Philadelphia.
Speaking of Philadelphia, so I know you're out in California right now.
I am.
And you're going to be coming out to Philly this coming weekend. I hope you're prepared to dress warmly.
Oh, my my God, I'm not ready for it at all. I'm so not ready for it. I'm scared to death.
I mean, we had yesterday. We got lucky. We had probably like a good 40, 45-degree day, and to us,
put shorts on.
I drove around with my windows down. Like that's how nice it seemed.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's not supposed to be cold this week, huh?
Well, I think we're supposed to go down into like negative. I think below zero overnight again tonight.
-5.
I hate weather. I really do, you guys. I've been to Philly when it was rainy. Like, I was there last year in the rain, and, you know, and I've been there in the summer when it was boiling hot, and you just want to die. But, yeah, I'm not ready for it. I was in Vancouver over the weekend, and I was standing outside, and it was too cold for me there, and it wasn't that cold. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think just cry.
I would hate to break it to you, but I don't think it's getting above freezing while you're here.
I know.
Sorry.
I mean, I have, I have long underwear, and I will wear it on stage. That's the person I am. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. I have a parka, I have a beaver hat. I have all the gear. It's just, boy.
Well, you'll be nice.
Well, I'll stay in my room a lot, I guess.
Yeah, you'll be warm inside the hotel. You should be all right.
Sure.
We had an opportunity last year to speak to Colin Mockery, and earlier this year, a couple weeks ago, we spoke to Brad. Unlike those two, when it comes to you those two do primarily improv comedy, which I know you do a lot heavily as well. But you also travel around doing stand-up at the same time, which I know those two don't do. Between the two of them, is there a type of comedy, whether it's improv or stand-up, that you prefer to do over the other one? Do you have a favorite?
I like my podcast best of all, because I get to do whatever I want, and I love stand-up. I really do, because I think I always thought stand-up was the most direct way of communicating, but I find that the podcast has been a way more personal experience for me and your comedy people out there that like comedy, because it goes directly to them. People listen to it on their headphones or earbuds or in their car or on their bike or wherever they are, so it's a real intimate experience. And when I do it live, I talk to everybody in the crowd before I do the show. I go out and meet everyone, which I would never do at a stand-up show, because I think it erases the magic if you talk to them beforehand.
Yeah.
But in a podcast, it's a different matter entirely. And I was just on the road with Ryan Stiles and Jeff Davis and Joel Murray. We're all in a group. And we were just out on the weekend, and I absolutely had the most fun I've had in about 100 years. I mean, we've been working for 15 years together. Chip Askin was in our group, but he got on the show Nashville. So we put Joel in the group a couple years ago. But,
okay.
I really laughed my ass off. We were really funny, and we were just loose. And so, but I still say, even saying that, I would still say that I like stand-up. I mean, the podcast goodest of all.
Okay.
Yeah, and like we said, you're going to be, for those listening in the Philadelphia area, you'll be at Helium Comedy Club on Thursday, the 26th of February, through Saturday, the 28th. Now, your first night at Helium, the 26th, Thursday, is actually going to be a live taping of your podcast, right? The Smartest Man in the World.
Absolutely.
Your Proopcast, as you call it.
If the plane gets in, yes.
So Friday and Saturday then will be a stand-up. So those, I mean, essentially you could go see, someone could come out and see a Thursday and then come out and see a Friday. And it's two completely different experiences then, right?
Well, with the same person, yes. Two very, I mean, the podcast I did, I drink, I talk. Like I say, I talk to everybody beforehand. It's not like I'm mean during the stand-up, but it's a different thing. I'm going to get up there, I'm going to knock out my act, probably riff on whatever's going on in Philly, and that'll be that. Then I'll go back to my room and hide.
Hide away from the cold.
Because it's so fucking cold, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you to tell us more about, the Smartest Man in the World podcast, or Proopcast, which is what you call it. But, you seem to do a good description of it already. Like, as you said, you'll sit on stage, you'll talk to the people. Do you ever call people from the audience up to join you as part of the podcast?
I don't, but I often take questions from the audience at the end of the show, so occasionally we do that at the show. So I set up a mic in the house, and people get to talk with me or at me or ask a question of me during the show. So they're sort of my guest. There's no guests on the show. It's just me blathering or dissembling, if you will, or expounding.
Is there any type of bit type to it? Like, do you have anything prepared, or is it all kind of off the cuff?
Oh, yeah. No, I think of lots of stuff. I have pages and pages of notes. I don't write what I'm going to say. Let me put it that way. I have notes on different articles. My wife Jennifer and I confer quite a lot on what we're going to put in the show. And so I read newspaper articles, things off the internet, items, obituaries. I play records. I get up and dance. I act like an idiot. I talk about whatever's on my mind. I'll probably talk about all the other different times I've been to Philly at the show. Because, you know, Philly for me is I never really played there till about 3 or 4 years ago. And up until then, I never really liked it. I always thought, having gone through the airport and everyone was in such a bad goddamn mood at the airport all the time, I thought that Philly was some place with a bunch of assholes. Even though the comics I knew from Philly, like Paul Tompkins, were all as nice as could be.
Yeah.
So once I started playing there, I realized, oh, I get it. It's a thing.
Well,
And so I really like Philly, and I enjoy playing there. I love the Italian food. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, New York without the corporate bullshit.
well, I mean, in essence, you're still kind of right. I mean, being from Philly, we can honestly say that it is a city pretty much full of assholes, and it's just, you know, so you're not wrong.
In a good way, though.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I did Penn a couple years ago, not at Penn State, Penn inside Philly. And they have a Rags and Bones thing they do, you know, like at their college. It's not called that. Like Harvard does, right? Because it's an old school, you know, from
Right.
the 1700s, whatnot. And,
Right.
and they have a special comedy guest every year. So I went and I did the show with them, and I had to learn the sketches on the day, and then I did stand-up at the show, and it was all these guys, kids, all these different college kids in their groups and whatnot. Now they, of course, allow women to be in it. And then I went over to some frat house afterward and got drunk with everybody. And they said, nobody ever does that. And I'm like, why? This is the whole thing to me. I mean, I could give a shit about the show as much as, like, you know, and of course I hadn't been to a frat house in 100 years. And then they started playing really awful music that I hated because I'm too old for it. And then next thing I know, people were upside down drinking out of solo cups and shit. And that's when I left because I didn't want to be the chaperone at that point.
I've been out of college for almost, well, actually for over 10 years now. I don't want to age myself, but I remember doing the same thing. We always invited the comics to come back to the frat house, and nobody ever did it. So just to hear the fact that you actually did it, I mean, that's awesome.
Oh, no, I smoked weed. I stayed for a couple of hours. I mean, I didn't close the place because I didn't want to be embarrassed that anyone would, like, ask me for a loan or something. No, it was really fun. I mean, but I thought all the people I did it with were such, you know, enthusiastic and intelligent and organized, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a teenage drama student, so I know the deal. I would have loved it if a comic had come and, you know, partied with us.
Yeah.
Philly would have had to
I
make
thought it was
up.
part of the job, quite frankly. I was told that, like, no, they had some other comics a couple years ago. He was like a star off another show, and he didn't go, and he was very huffy, and he wanted his car right after. And I thought, oh, I went and ate dinner with them before, and I went out with them after, because I'm so cool. Either that or I have no social life. But that was a very nice night in Philly because the weather was really nice too, you know.
I was going to say, I had to make a good impression on you because, I mean, we're looking at your schedule, and we looked at it a little bit earlier. You're out, like we said, you're out West Coast right now. You come to Philly for a few days, and then you go back out West Coast and then take kind of a break. I guess Whose Line's probably coming up, taping for the next season of that, right?
Well,
Is that why you're taking a break in March?
January, and then we tape again in somewhere in March. I'm also doing a show called The Infinite Monkey Cage up in San Francisco. A physicist named Brian Cox has a show that he does for I think it's BBC Radio, and they have all these physicist types on it, and it's supposed to be good fun, so I'm really looking forward to that, too. That ought to be weird.
Well, I mean, getting back to your tour, you've toured, you know, all over the world, you know, Europe and everything like that. Is there any type of issue, or how does the language barrier affect your show when you're overseas like that?
No, because everyone who comes can speak English. I mean, I think the biggest obstacle last year probably was we played Antwerp, and it went very well. But I think a lot of the people in Antwerp didn't speak English perfectly as a second language. Whereas when we played Finland and Stockholm in Sweden, everyone, the Swedes and the Finns just speak tremendous English. I mean, when you do it in Paris or Amsterdam, there's loads of expats, you know, so there's tons of English people, Scottish people, or maybe a few Irish Canadians kicking around, and always some Americans. there's 50,000 Americans in Paris, so you're always going to get some people from home. But I was chuffed that last time we played Paris, there was, I would say, half a dozen or more Parisians there.
Wow.
Who just spoke English really well, and they wanted to hear the comedy. But then there's a big English-speaking comedy scene in Paris, so no, not really. It's not like they sit there wondering what I'm talking about or anything like that. I think that happens more at stand-up shows. Also, I make a slight effort. I mean, I'm not saying other comics don't, but they send comics around the world. Like when we were in Norway, or Sweden rather, I remember there was a bunch of comics there from America on kind of a big corporate tour. It was English comics and American comics. I can't remember who was there when we were there. James Adomian, what's his name? Stephen Merchant, whatnot.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
And Americans can be a little parochial and provincial, and they go places and they're like, God, it's really weird here. You eat different food and you talk different. It's like, don't be an idiot. You know what I mean? So I really make an effort to kind of know something about where I'm going, or at least have a day or two to study when I get there. At least go out to dinner and hang around and go to a bar and get drunk and meet some people, so that I'm not just blowing it out my ass when I get up on stage or talking about. To me, the biggest crime is to get on stage and talk about Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because no one really gives a shit.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, in Hollywood, of course. I do nothing but show business. And on the podcast I can and all that jazz. Well, I really get in Philly and talk about Hollywood, unless it's going to be excoriating Hollywood. No one gives a crap about gossip and shit like that. And show business means so little to people outside of show business world. And I think a lot of comics get caught up in it when they're here. And they go on the road and, they want to talk about themselves and their auditions and their Hollywood and show business, and you're like in another world, man. And they want to hear about America. For better or worse, you're a representative of where you're from.
Yeah.
So I try to keep that in mind. I mean, I don't take it that seriously. I mean, I don't fucking study to see who every prime minister was, but I make a point of knowing where I am, and not just. I used to see, when I lived in London, I would see American comics get up at English clubs. And there was always lots of American comics coming over. And there was the serious ones, like Dave Fulton or Rich Hall or Arj Barker or whatnot, Scott Capurro, who all have careers in England because they made a point of, living there and learning about it. But then guys would come over and, they'd be a New York comic, and they get up and they go, hey, in London, what the fuck? Oh, and the English crowd would be like, fuck you. And that would be the end of that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like an English crowd going frosty on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think a Philly crowd can be shitty. Like a London crowd at midnight or 1:30 in the morning when the fucking bar's still open and they're drunk on Friday, they will just shut down operation. And I saw it happen a few times. It happened to me a few times, So you can't just kind of wander into a place and think that comedy is a universal language. And it's spoken in jokes. And that's what whenever anybody says to me, what advice would you give me if I was going to go play in England or whatever, I'd say, tell jokes one after the next.
Yeah.
Because the construction of jokes is universal, and people understand it. It's when you get up there and you go, get a little too inside, I think is when inside your own ass.
Yeah.
You've got to come out and realize there's a world.
Well, I mean, you seem definitely like there's a lot of knowledge in your head. You said you're a world traveler, and as I mentioned in the introduction, you actually have a book coming out this May, which is titled The Smartest Book in the World. And I love the subtitle to this book, too, A Lexicon of Literacy, a rancorous reportage, a concise curriculum of cool, which I think is awesome. Is this the first book that you've written, or have you written one before that?
I've never written a book. Isn't it shocking? I'm so lazy. I'm having to go over the book now for my last pass, and I just want to get high, I'm thinking about drinking a vodka and just anything I could do. I've been putting it off for days and days. It's the first book I've written, and I like it. I think it's funny. I'm going on the road to promote the daylights out of it, and with any luck, I will be in Philadelphia on May 10th.
Nice.
But that's just penciled at this point. I will be in Moravia, PA. I'm pretty sure I'll be in Moravia on the 9th. There's a bookstore out there that's a big, famous one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not familiar
and
with.
She couldn't get me one in Philly, and then I want to come over into Helium and do the podcast there.
You should do
Are we doing Collegeville? I can't remember. We might be doing Collegeville.
You should do like a one of those those old tapes they had of voiceovers reading the books. You should do one of those for it too. I forget what they are.
I am going to be reading the book.
Oh, perfect.
I'm reading my own book. Yeah, they asked me, and I was like, yes, I'd rather I read it.
Yeah.
Well,
the only other consideration was Jeremy Irons. Yeah.
One of the places you could probably look into if you wanted to do something in Philly is the Free Public Library, because I've been to a number of book releases and signings there. I mean, unless you're obviously you're trying to make a little money on it, which you can still do there too. Like you can sell the book there and sell autographs and do Q&A and stuff and things like that. So I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I mean, I believe me, I bring these up to. It's a constant back and forth with the editor, the publishers, and their people.
Yeah.
Of me saying where I want to play and them saying where they can get to play, and then I just go ahead and book my own gigs out of it anyway. I mean, you know how everything works. You guys do your own podcast. There's people can help you in certain regards, but really, the whole world is about do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the big message I always have for everybody on the show, and that I talk about constantly. Yeah, we're going to be in Collegeville on Monday, May 11th, at the Town Book Center. But we may add another one in Moravia. The message I always have for everybody on the show is, you've got to carpe diem.
Yeah.
Moravian bookstores outside of Philly. Sorry, I was reading an email to see if I could find any more information about it, so I didn't just say it was a really big bookstore.
We will keep. I'm sure we'll keep an eye on it.
I wanted to do Fox's in Philadelphia, but it's very small.
So, well, I mean, it's like you said too about having to do things yourself and things like that, and how we would know that by doing a podcast. You're absolutely right. Like it's one of those things that obviously we knew we were going to have to reach out to people to get things started on our own, but we never took the whole attitude that eventually we'll get to a point where things will just be handed to us. We still work just as hard now, to keep everything going ourselves.
Can't stop. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a tizzy because I'm like, what am I going to do for the next book? Because they haven't even said anything to me, And then you're like, well, what do I do? So, no, you have to constantly push forward. I think that people get confused. I don't think they get the wrong idea, but I think they get confused that things just happen. And things do, of course, just happen, but you've got to actively take a part in whatever it is you're trying to do. The only thing I object to, aside from ignorant, pinheads running the world, is when people say they're going to do something and they don't. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm writing a book, or I'm starting a podcast, or I'm making a dress, or I'm doing this or doing that. And they have no intention of fucking doing it. They're just talking about it.
Yeah.
And you hear that all the time, especially in comedy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I felt like, well, I told people I'm going to write a book. I wrote a book. I said I was coming out with a new album. I have a new album coming out. I don't know when it's coming out, but it'll come out in probably April, somewhere, springish, summer? And we recorded it in San Francisco, and I had to knuckle down and try to put some fucking material together like a human, and, that's the deal. I think you're only as good as the last thing you do, and you always have to try to be funnier, better, faster, smarter, gooder.
Well, I mean, I'm sure this gets brought up to you a lot, but I just got to mention, obviously, from the big fans that Ben and I both are, but I don't know if many people know this, but you are part of the Star Wars legacy with the voices you did in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and Clone Wars. So how did that news come about when you found out that you would actually be a part of Star Wars? How did you get that part?
Well, that was a long time ago. That was in the 90s in Edinburgh. Whenever year the movie, I think we shot it like 98. It was 97. I was doing stand-up in Edinburgh, and so was Scott Capurro. He was doing a show after me at a venue called Pleasance Over the Road, which was a converted church that had a bar in it that you could smoke in, which I thought was a fucking very cool venue. And one of the Star Wars people came to see me, one of the casting people, because they needed American voices. And so they brought me and Scott in, and we did American voices for this pod race announcers. They didn't want English ones. And so I did Ron Fairley, who used to be a ball player, and he also announced for the Mariners and the Giants. Ron Fairley got everything wrong, and that's what made me laugh about him. Mark Grant and Mark Davis pitched on our team, and one was left-handed, one was right-handed, and he couldn't tell them apart, which is fantastic for a baseball announcer because they're on the, they're throwing from the opposite side. Really, Mark Davis is out there, and scratch that, it's Mark Grant. That's how he would announce, right? Like, and then the play would happen, and then he'd go back and announce the play because he wasn't fast enough to follow the action. So he'd be like, well, what happened just then when there was a ground ball? Like, it really, And so I thought the timbre of his voice was funny, so I did him. And then we made up a bunch of stuff in the rehearsal, which they always want us to say that we never made anything up that goes with all the lines, but we made up a few lines. And, nothing too devastating. Stuff like, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what galaxy you're from, that's got to hurt and all that shit. That's us. And then they ended up making Scott speak in Huttese. So he speaks in Huttese in the movie because we went in and we dubbed it over, of course, after we shot it. When I got it, my English agent was like, I don't want you to do it. And I was like, are you kidding? And she went, I don't like the money. And I was like, this goes on top of my resume until the day I die.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people from Norway write me every week. I have I'm looking. I got a baseball card of Foden bead here. It's just something you couldn't turn down. No. So I was really glad to do it, even though I'm not Star Wars is not my main sci-fi thing. I like it because it's not something I watch over and over. And I have a polar fleece that says Episode 1, if you're a super geek. It doesn't say The Phantom Menace, in other words. The movie was not called The Phantom Menace when we shot it. It was called Episode 1. And so Scott asked for some swag from the second AD, and he came back with 2 polar fleeces. So I still have it in my closet. So
there you go.
Don't come and kill me for it. It's probably like $500 or something.
Those aren't readily available.
Well, it's like those the T-shirts that are Revenge of the Jedi.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of Revenge of the Jedi stuff that got put out that didn't, not to the public, but that people had. And I have an Episode 1. So I was also in The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it was the 20th anniversary of that, like 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Yeah, last year.
20 years already? Wow.
And then, Star Wars were on to... We did the DVD a few years ago. I've done a bunch of video games for them, too. George Lucas was the nicest person I've ever met on a set. I mean, he couldn't have been more low-key. He was acting like he was conducting a tea party, He was like, that was good. Do you want to try that again? And I have a giant head on, right, like an alien head.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, George. So that was fun. We couldn't eat or nothing because the heads were big. We were in makeup for like 4 or 5 hours. And then they're not in the movie. Like, you can go online and see our heads. If you're a really deep fan and you give a shit about this, you can go on Google Foden Bead and you'll see pictures of me and Scott in our actual prosthetic heads that they made us. I'm green and he's red. Also, I did Matt Gorley, who's on the wonderful podcast Super Ego. Matt Gorley does a show called I Was There Too, and it's from the point of view of people on the periphery of these giant things. And so he interviewed me about being in the Star Wars legacy, as you call it, because I'm not in the center of it, but I was in it. Mm-hmm. And I did meet George Lucas, and we met Ewan McGregor even, I think. He was shooting that day with Frank Oz over on another part of Leavesden. We shot at Leavesden outside of London. So that was fun. And then I'll tell you the best part of the story. I've told it on Matt's show, but it's worth telling again on your show because it's a good story. Mike, the guy they sent to come and get me in the car, was a really handsome older fellow who looked like Charlie Watts from the Rolling Stones, right?
Okay.
He had silver hair and like a tweed jacket and a polo neck, right? And it was a Jaguar, a really fancy Jaguar. So they came and got me in this Jaguar, and we started chatting, of course, because it's a long ride out to Leavesden. And I says, how's it going? And he goes, one, I'm really glad I'm not on Eyes Wide Shut. They were shooting Eyes Wide Shut at the time. He goes, I have friends who've been working on that picture for 2 fucking years, right? Kubrick just never stopped shooting it, right?
Right.
And then he goes, I drove Harrison Ford on Raiders of the Lost Ark 3. And I said, what was that like? And he said, Harrison smoked a joint on the way to the set every day. At first call, you guys, first call. We're talking 6 in the morning, right? So he would fetch Harrison from the Savoy Hotel on the Strand in London and drive him out to the set. And he said one day Harrison Ford gets in the car with a saucepan. And he goes, Harrison, what are you doing? And he says, I ran out of rolling papers. And my room has a kitchenette, so I've heated up the dope in the saucepan, you see. And he opens up the saucepan lid, and dope smoke fills up the Jaguar. And he said he pulled up and he had to roll all the windows down, and that Harrison Ford was sticking his head in the saucepan, snorting weed on the way to the set. It was awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, so that one I thought was a pretty greedy story to hear. And then we shot it. We got the puller fleeces. We came back to. I was living in Hampstead at the time in London, and my wife, and we ordered Chinese food. And we drank a bottle of wine, and we high-fived because we were in Star Wars, which we were calling Star Wars at the time.
That's cool, though. That's I mean, that's just to be a part of that. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God, you're kidding! I mean, like, it's amazing. I mean, people, some of the people who like it are not people I would touch on a general basis, but they're often sticky. But it is an amazing thing to be a part of, and Nightmare too, because Nightmare was such a coincidence, and I really didn't think that anyone would give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought it was just another. I mean, I thought it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I thought it looked cool and everything. But I didn't think at the time that it would be part of if you go to Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion is basically like the Nightmare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really turned it into this giant thing, and so I'm very, very happy that I was in that.
Yeah, that's pretty great. I mean, and that's become almost like a classic as well now too.
Well, it was fucking a yearly, one of those annual Christmas things, and who would have fucking thunk it,
Yeah.
I mean, you go to an audition, you just try to do something, and that one was fun though because they gave us the opening song, the This Is Halloween song that Danny Elfman wrote, and they gave us this is how long ago it was, you guys. You guys are gonna think I'm 100. They gave it to us on a cassette.
Well.
And I went at home and I learned it on my cassette recorder, and then I came back, and I was first because I had to go to L.A. for something, and they had the audition in San Francisco for no reason. And I said, can I go first because I got to get a plane. So they put me up at 10 in the morning. But I'd memorized the fucking song, and I sang it as a bunch of different monsters, and I got it. So
Nice.
Yeah. And I was Bob the Builder, too. But you have a 2-year-old, is it?
I don't have any kids.
He's 2 months old.
2 months. Oh, well, they're not old enough for Bob the Builder. But in 2 years' time, they will be.
So. Well, I know we don't want to keep you that much longer because I know you've already given us plenty of time, to talk to you tonight.
I'm enjoying myself. You guys are nice.
Thank you.
Are you stand-up comics?
We're not stand-up comics. I've attempted it. I have a friend who does stand-up on a regular basis. He's been doing it. I've been following him, and I've known him probably since I was a freshman in college in '98, so probably going on 17 years now. And I've actually opened for him twice. Because there was a point in time when I did want to give it a shot, and he gave me an opportunity, and I didn't bomb, but I really only did maybe 4 or 5 minutes, which to me felt like an eternity, having never done it before.
Right.
But I'm just a huge stand-up fan. I love
that's nice.
stand-up comedy. I love reading. I can't wait to read your book when it comes out in May. You'll see me in line at your book signing, whether it's in Collegeville or you get one in Philly, I'll be there because,
well, thank you.
I love reading it. I'm really hoping to go to both your podcast taping this weekend at Helium and one of your shows. So
they will be different. I won't do the same material. So for the people, when does this show drop, fellas?
This will actually be up.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, this will be up by tomorrow
great.
morning. Yeah. So
well, if you put me in a tweet and I'll retweet it.
Awesome. Yeah.
And like that, and then because your casual comedy fan doesn't necessarily know what the difference between a podcast and a stand-up show.
Mm-hmm.
I say your casual comedy fan. Obviously your experienced comedy fan does. But some people come to a show and they're like, you see notes on the internet. I don't know why he sat down the whole time at the table.
in front of a microphone. I don't know.
They didn't get it at all, or well, he just talked about politics and shit. I thought it was going to be, and you think, okay, fuck you, don't even come.
Yeah.
But most people that come are really, really, really involved in it, and it's a real exchange. People give me presents. We talk. I think you'll like it. I think it's a real event.
Well, I'll be sure to introduce myself.
Baby.
Yeah, I'll be sure to introduce myself to you if I ever, if I get the chance.
Please do, young Dan.
And when we talk to you, just to wrap up everything too before we let you go, we're going to be recapping the Oscars once we're done talking to you as part of this podcast as well. I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch them at all.
I did.
This weekend. Did you have a favorite movie out of the 8 that you would have preferred to win if it wasn't Birdman? Because Birdman did win Best Picture.
No, I didn't really give a shit. I really loved Grand Budapest Hotel. I thought it was charming.
Mm-hmm.
It took home a lot of
I thought the obvious Best Picture would have been Selma, and the fact that it got scooched over, that the lead actor got scooched over, that the director got scooched over, just really says everything about how Hollywood works, and the innate sexism and racism that just carries on. I thought that the show was a terrible show. It looked like it was put on in the 8th grade. I thought the writing for Neil Patrick was abysmal. None of the jokes landed. But I thought a lot of the stuff that the people said that got up. Patricia Arquette, Mr. Moore, who wrote the screenplay to, I just forgot
Imitation
the name.
Game.
To the Imitation Game, yeah.
The Imitation Game. I was going to call it the Emulation Game. What John Legend said, there were so many issues got covered, ALS and Alzheimer's, racism,
And suicide,
sexism, suicide, being...
J.K. Simmons with Call Your Parents,
Call Your
Don't
Mom.
Text Them.
Right, filial devotion, being gay, and I think that's the best thing that can come out of these kind of shows. Like, I don't know if you watch the Golden Globes, but the Golden Globes was a fucking hootenanny of agendas, and I think that's the best thing about it. It's very important that people who live in what they like to think of as real America see that gay people are married and are productive members of society, that women have a voice, those kind of things. Because all the other things are true, too. Stars are shallow as fuck, and, really it is about the shoes and the clothes, you know what I mean? And Hollywood celebrating itself is so annoying. They'll say things like, it's Hollywood's biggest night, and you're like, no, it's not. It's a frat party for a bunch of fucking insiders who are the, most popular kids at school.
Yeah.
And that's why they make the people who make the foreign documentaries sit in the fucking rafters.
Yeah, on the balcony.
And, also, my other biggest complaint about last night, other than the jokes were terrible, was that Harry Belafonte was given the Gene Herschel Humanitarian Award, which they used to do on the air.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they quit doing it, but he was on a little taped crappy package. And if there's one person that America needs to see this year, in a year when Eric Garner, Ferguson, when the issue of civil rights is at the very forefront of everybody's mind, and police brutality, all the things, is Harry Belafonte. He marched with Dr. King. He was at all these things with Martin Luther King. You know what I mean? Like, to give him a crappy taped package really fucked me off. And then, I'll go even further. Joan Rivers and Robin Williams, I knew them. I wasn't best buddies with them, but I did work with them. Robin I knew for 20 years from San Francisco, maybe more. Joan, I did the red carpet with her in 96 and 97, and Melissa. And I did all the shows with her. And she was a rare individual, and a exceedingly sensitive, intelligent, giving, wonderful person. And for them to fucking not show her picture.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
She invented the red carpet, man.
Yeah, I agree with you on that completely. Like one of our other hosts, who's not with us this evening, he had something come up. He had mentioned it too, that he had brought up that Joan Rivers was snubbed from the In Memoriam, and it's one of those things that even if just for the red carpet alone, she deserved to be part of that.
I mean, she wrote a movie and she directed a movie, and she was in several movies, and she did voiceover in a few movies. So that's not a movie career per se. The fact that okay, let me put it this way. When I was a kid, there was no 4 hours lead up to the Oscars. The Oscars started, and then it was over.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about into the 70s and 80s, man. When she got a hold of it, it became an all-day affair. Right. And they need to get down on their fucking knees and thank her for making it that sexy and that glamorous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was the red carpet for the Oscars.
Oh, my God. She invented Who Are You Wearing?
I
mean, like, there's just no... Isn't there the reason why we have fucking Khloe Kardashian trotting around out there and Juliana and the Manny Cam and all that crap? It's because of Joan.
Yeah.
And for them to not acknowledge that was just disgusting.
Well, not only that, but I know they had mentioned, too, that on the red carpet, they were trying to get away from the whole who are you wearing this year in the pre-show, which I think is another disrespect towards Joan.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, I mean, the tack on it was, what was it, there's Other Things Matter and all that, and I forget who started it, Reese Witherspoon or whatever. Ask me about my life, my children, my work. I understand that. However, we're at an event where you've dieted furiously, you've been spray tanned, you've had your eyes glued on, and you're wearing a gown.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second, shall we?
Yeah.
I mean, I get their point. Their point is men never get asked about their looks and what they're wearing. It's not an issue for men. Men can look like Jack Nicholson and still get front room pussy. But if a woman looks like Jack Nicholson, everyone goes, oh, she's old and fat.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get that. But I agree with you, I think. And then, nothing about Taylor Negron, nothing about Jan Hooks.
Jan Hooks,
Come on, man. Jan Hooks and Taylor Negron had 2 key scenes in 2 key movies that are 2 of the funniest goddamn scenes in movie history, and so fuck you. And Robin Williams, Oscar winner, hosted the show a bunch of times. Really? You gave him a drawing?
Yeah, and you know what? It's I didn't mention this because we were live tweeting during the Oscars last night, and I didn't mention that either. But I know during the Emmys, right after he had passed away, you have to understand. Adam knows this, and you knowing Robin for as long as you have, Robin was my comedy idol. Like I don't have heroes. I don't look up to people. I looked up to Robin. Like that's. I was devastated when I found out everything that happened. So to go through the In Memoriam last night and see that he was just a still in the middle of everything.
Yeah, not even at the end or anything like that.
I mean, for me, I would have given him a clip reel.
Yeah.
I would have let you see him in all of his nudes. Good Morning Vietnam, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society. Even the one that Bobcat made with him a couple years ago where he's the best father.
Oh, The World's Greatest Dad, yeah.
The World's Greatest Dad. Like, he could play serious and he could play comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, he was a lovely guy. More than anything else. The amazing amount of things he did for people that we know, giving them money, giving them support. He was just he was a mensch.
Yeah.
He was a real mensch, and I just didn't dig it that they, like you said, you get one crappy still drawing of yourself in the middle of a montage of fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
and that's all you've got for Robin fucking Williams, man? Wow. This sounds so ratty that way, though. It's just a rat hole.
I mean, you only get one shot to do something, as the Oscars ceremony. You only get one time that you can actually do something like that, and to fall short like that it's a shame.
Well, and, if you want to get even more blamey, why didn't the E! Channel run a tribute to Joan Rivers for an hour before the show? Or after the show? Or on the night or whatever? Just go we're going to just show an hour of her being fucking hilarious.
Yeah, because I would have watched that over the red carpet stuff that was out there.
Of course you would. When I worked with her, she was on TV Guide Channel, and then that was the TV Guide Channel gave her a deal for 2 or 3 years, and then she went back to E! And made it even bigger. And then she won the Celebrity Apprentice. All this was in the late 70s, man. She's one of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And every once in a while I'd email her and say, stop selling your crappy books or something. And she would always yell back, fuck you. So she was hilarious, She was the real. I don't think any comic that ever met her or dealt with her wouldn't tell you that she was the real deal, from Louis C.K. to Jen Kirkman to Sarah Silverman to whoever you can think of, Kathy Griffin. She was. Robin and her are irreplaceable because they're not dickwads.
Yeah. Right.
There's plenty of comics we can do without, and they weren't. They actually. And I'm an improviser. Robin could improvise like nobody's fucking business.
Well, I mean, he did an episode of Whose Line with you guys too.
He did. I wasn't on that one, sadly, but I have done improv with him, and you can't even begin to describe me. More than that, he lit up a room.
Yeah, that's what we had brought that up. We had actually, when we spoke to Colin last year, it was shortly after Robin had passed away, so we had brought it up to Colin. And he had mentioned the same thing. He said that he had come down, he was shooting some movie, and he came down for the...
photo, I think.
That's right, yeah, he was shooting 1 hour photo, and he came out for the day, and when his time was over and done, and he was able to leave if he really wanted to, he didn't. He stayed... He talked to the audience, he fooled around with the audience, and he just loved being there. So I mean, like, I can only imagine. It's one thing that, like, I've had an opportunity. I feel lucky that I had an opportunity to see him perform stand up twice.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have had an opportunity to meet him.
Yeah.
Even just to shake his hand and thank him for like being, like I said, being one of my heroes. And it's just.
Well, at least you got to see him do stand up because you got to see what I'm talking about. That like
yeah.
in the bottle. Because when he played, I've asked comics all over the world who was as exciting as him on stage, and really it's like Pryor, Billy Connolly, not that many, that made the audience go fucking crazy, just crazy.
Right. Yeah. I know, on a side note, speaking of the comedy and everything too, and not to go on off on another tangent, but I just had an opportunity last week or 2 weeks ago. I saw another friend of yours perform, who is another one of my comedy idols. I got to see Craig perform. He performed at the Merriam here in Philly.
Fergie?
Yeah.
Oh, what a nice guy.
And let me tell you, I was wiping tears from my eyes from laughing so hard at his show. It's just, he was hysterical.
He's a great guy and a real true gentleman. No one who ever had a TV show in L.A. treated me with more respect than Craig Ferguson.
Yeah, because
That's from the heart. I mean, I probably met him in 92, 93, and he moved to L.A., and then when he got the talk show, he put me on all the fucking time. I did it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in June, right?
Yeah, I did it last year, and like, I didn't have to do stand-up anymore. He didn't make me do stand-up. I just paneled. I'm like, that was his doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's not the network. That's not CBS going, we love Greg Proops. That's Greg Ferguson making that happen. So, just so your listeners know, there are people out there who are beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We definitely appreciate you doing this. So, just to let people know, so that they can, check you out and everything, your website is gregproops.com.
That's right. And the link to the Helium site's on there. You can also go to the Helium site if you want to pick up tickets. Also on my Twitter, I ceaselessly plug myself. That's at Greg Proops. Come and see me Thursday at the podcast if you can't. Come and see me on the weekend.
And if you're not in Philly,
we go outside and smoke a joint, but I don't know about that this weekend. It is cold out there.
Yeah, and if you're not in the Philly area and you're listening to the podcast, go on Greg's website and just find out when he's going to be coming anywhere close to you, and definitely go and check him out. So.
Oh sure, I'll be in New York in May, I think.
Yeah, and subscribe to his podcast.
Smartest man in the world.
It's just me spieling.
Well, sometimes
I got a chance to listen to I think the one you did in Washington a little bit earlier today. I listened to part of it. It's actually really entertaining. You can tell it's not just like a bit like you were talking about earlier. It's just you having a good time interacting with the audience. Like it almost has. I mean, it's not improv, but it has. You can tell you do improv because you're off the cuff and you can think on your feet.
That's what I try to do. I try to challenge myself a little bit to do it all off the cuff, and not the trick is not repeating myself because now it's been 3 years and 200 and something shows. So I've already run out of stories, so I'm just going to tell other people's stories from now on. I'm just going to read from the Bible.
Just tell that Harrison Ford story. I could hear that 1,000 times.
Oh, that's a goodie. Well, I've told it on 2 shows now. I gotta save that one.
There you go. Save it for a special occasion.
It'd have been a better one if I'd smoked it with him, but still, it's funny.
It's still, yeah. I just can't imagine Harrison Ford smoking out of a saucepan. It's just
great.
It's great.
I love him.
That's so good.
Well, definitely, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us tonight.
All right, thanks, Ben. Thanks, Adam.
So,
we'll see you on the weekend, gents. And you tweet me.
Oh, I definitely will.
Okay.
All right.
This is Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway? I'm totally naked and drinking a daiquiri while listening to Next Level Radio.
Sorry I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party.
How cool was Greg? Like,
very cool.
I know I say that a lot when we come back from interviews, like how cool was so and so, but Greg, like, that was really cool. Like he joined in on some of the Oscar talk, and
he opened up a little bit about some stuff with the Oscars and everything like that, and he told us that story that apparently he's only ever told one other time.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's kind of a little bit of an exclusive.
Yeah, so that's really cool, which is a hilarious story.
I still can't picture Harrison Ford smoking out of a saucepan. That's fantastic.
Oh, I can.
I mean, for those of you that, that listen to the interview and enjoy the interview, just a little bit of like backstage stuff. We were actually supposed to speak with Greg about almost an hour before we actually talked to him. He was running about 45 minutes late, And we were only supposed to get about 20 minutes with him, but he ended up, because he was late, ended up staying with us probably for all that extra time. And, it was a good 45 minutes that we talked to him, which was
and
awesome.
Like he said, I mean, himself included, there are actually good people in Hollywood. They're not all douchebags.
Yeah, exactly. And I loved, anytime I get to talk to another comedian about Robin Williams, I love doing that. And
I remember Colin saying that Greg knew him better than Colin did back when we talked to Colin Mockery. I remember him mentioning Greg's name when we brought up Robin Williams. So it's cool that we got to
actually talk to Greg about it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And he brought it up too. I was waiting for you to bring it up, but he actually brought it up as soon as he did. I'm like, oh, you just hit Ben's jackpot right now.
Well, I actually wasn't going to bring it up, but once he did, I was like, okay, I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I got to, like I said, I never got the opportunity to meet him, even though I wish I did. So any chance I get to talk to him, talk about him with other comedians who have met him and who have worked with him, I love taking that opportunity. So it was really cool that I got to talk to Greg about that.
Yeah. And hopefully we can have him back on, when he comes back in town, for his book, in May.
Yeah. May 11th, I think he said, in Collegeville.
Yeah, I think he's here like 9, 10, and 11. I think he's in Collegeville. I forget what the other two ones he said.
Well, I think he said he's working on a Philly date for the 10th.
Yeah, there's a couple that, it's all penciled in, I think he said.
Yeah, but we'll keep you all posted, and hopefully we'll get him back on to promote the book, and maybe we can do something in person with him too when he comes to Philly. Yeah,
that'd be cool. And if you enjoyed that interview, or even if you didn't, maybe you would enjoy another one better. Go to nextlevelradioonline.com/interviews. We have our first interview. I wanted to tweet this out last week and I forgot. Our first interview was February 12th, 2014, so just over a year ago. We talked to Chris Allen. We have done, I think, over 40 since then, if not more.
Yeah, I think so. I know it's over 40.
Yeah, it's definitely over 40. I think it's sneaking up on 50. So, in the last year's time, we've done about 50, which is just astronomical, for being only a year old. So, maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't heard of everybody we talked to, but I can guarantee you that, you'll enjoy most of them. So go to nextlevelradioonline.com/interviews, check them out, and make sure you subscribe on iTunes. That's the best way to get a hold of us, really. I mean, it's easy to download Take on the Road with You. I've subscribed to several podcasts on iTunes, including Greg Proops' podcast and including Lucky Yates and Amber Nash's podcast.
Dad's Garage.
Yeah, it's just so easy to download. All you need is Wi-Fi. Download it real quick. Takes like 2 seconds and you listen to it where the hell you want. So just look for Next Level Radio on iTunes and subscribe.
Yeah, and in relation to Greg, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Greg Proops. Check out his website, gregproops.com. And if you're in the Philadelphia area like we are, I know it's short notice, but tickets are still available. Just go to heliumcomedy.com and you can still get tickets to his live podcast recording on Thursday night, as well as his stand-up shows Friday and Saturday. Yep. And I'll be out there. So you won't know who the hell I am, but I'll be there. So
if I didn't have a 2-month-old, I'd be there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I only get so many kitchen passes. I used one on a golf expo last week, so.
But yeah, check out everything about Greg, and if you're not in the Philadelphia area, definitely subscribe to his podcast. You'll get a good idea as to what it's like when you see him live. So
yeah.
But let's move on with the show and let us hit the next level news.
This is Next Level News.
Only a couple stories to hit this week. Starting off first, more casting news with Supergirl. Callista Flockhart joined CBS's Supergirl pilot as a series regular.
Who?
Exactly. Actually, going on with Harrison Ford earlier. Callista Flockhart, Harrison Ford's wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh.
Good old Ally McBeal.
There you go.
Surprising me every day.
Callista Flockhart has been cast as series regular in CBS's Supergirl pilot, Variety has learned. The brothers and sisters and Ally McBeal star will play Kat Grant, a self-made media magnate and founder of Catco, where Kara Zor-El, Melissa Benoist, works as her assistant. I'm actually familiar with Kat Grant from the comic books. She's one of the another reporter along with Lois Lane, but she is bigger in the Supergirl universe rather than the Superman universe. So, The series, based on DC Comics character, follows Kara, Superman's cousin, at age 24 when she decides to embrace her superhuman abilities and be the hero she was always meant to be after leaving Krypton and hiding the power she shares with her famous relative.
I wish I was Superman's cousin.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. So, anyway, sticking with comic book news, the X-Men spin-off Deadpool casts Marina Baccarin as the female lead. Marina Baccarin, who, if you're unfamiliar with Marina Baccarin, starred in Firefly with Nathan Fillion a couple years back, as well as a role in Gotham and Homeland as well.
Was that a J.J. Abrams show, Firefly?
Firefly was Firefly was Joss Whedon.
Oh, that's right. I knew it was one of those two.
Yeah. Baccarin will portray the love interest of the title character, an assassin with a scarred face who acquires superpowers while seeking a cure for his cancer, which is Deadpool. Gina Carano is also set to star as Angel Dust, which is another... I don't know if she's a hero or a villain in the show as well.
Angel Dust?
Yes, yeah, I'm not sure
I don't know.
who she is. Sounds more like a villain to me.
That sounds like a drug.
Oh, it is a drug.
So there you go then.
That would be a good reason why it sounds like a drug. More television news, actually more Netflix series news. Orange is the New Black. Jason Biggs will not be returning to Season 3.
Heard about that.
He will not be returning for Season 3 of Orange is the New Black. Netflix confirmed to Variety.
I couldn't get into that show.
I still have yet to check it out. I need to.
It's entertaining. I just feel like sometimes it really can't decide if it wants to be serious or if it wants to be a comedy.
And I think that was one of the troubles when it came up with the Emmy Awards as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was nominated in comedy, but a couple people were saying that it's not a comedy.
Yeah, Andrea watches it. She likes it. I just
Does she?
can't get into it, yeah. I watch Game of Thrones. She watches that show. I watch House of Cards. House of Cards, by the way.
Oh, can't wait. Coming back next weekend. This coming weekend.
2/27. Friday,
Yeah.
27.
I can't wait. Biggs has played series regular Larry Bloom, the ex-fiancé of Piper, played by Taylor Schilling, since the start in 2013. They're not focusing on Larry at the moment, Biggs told the New York Daily Times. Larry will not be in Season 3, but there's always a possibility he can come back.
Oh, so this wasn't really necessarily his choice.
No, he was just written out of the story.
That's interesting.
And last
Having
but not
sex
least...
with a pie?
Well, yeah, that could be a storyline in Season 4. Or that could be why he was written out of Season 3. That's what he's doing.
I think he almost did something similar in Season 1. When she first went to prison, he was like... I don't know.
Probably having sex with a grapefruit.
Yeah, I think it might have been.
And last but not least, I bring this up because I know we were fans of the show, and we spoke with Charles Halford from the show as well. NextLevelRadioOnline.com/interviews to steal a little bit of Adams.
Look at that. On the ball.
NBC to decide on Constantine Season 2 in May.
Oh, so I thought we had heard it was not renewed.
No, it was on the fence.
Okay, so there's still hope.
Yes, Constantine
Hashtag
showrunner.
Save Constantine.
Absolutely. Let's keep that going, too. Constantine showrunner Daniel Cerrone will pitch Season 2 to NBC in May. The show is not canceled yet, he says.
Okay.
When the hoped-for back nine order didn't arrive for NBC's Constantine, which recently concluded its first 13-episode season, the writing seemed to be on the wall for the Hellblazer adaptation. Not so, says showrunner Daniel Cerrone. There's still hope that the Man in the Mac might return to TV.
No hope with dope, I always say.
No, all hope is not lost. So hopefully we will see Constantine return for a Season 2.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
And that will wrap it up for the Next Level News. So, we have obviously we have a lot to discuss. Adam, Steve, and myself watched the Oscars that were on last night, so we're going to do a little recap. So, let's do, what do we want to start this with? Maybe just run down the list of the winners?
Yeah, we can do that. If you want to see all our reactions and our live tweets, just go on Twitter.
That's a lot of reading.
It is. I think it's the most I've ever tweeted in a 24-hour period.
Oh, I know for a fact it is. However, I am excited to say I got my first ever celebrity retweet last night in relation to something that we had spoken to Greg about earlier on in the podcast, and that was the Joan Rivers snub.
Dude, welcome to the club.
Which which I will freely admit, Steve was the one that brought that to our attention. I won't steal his thunder on that.
He did indeed.
However, I brought it to John Barrowman's attention. John Barrowman, who plays Malcolm Merlin on Arrow, and he retweeted it out, and it got a ton of favorites and retweets.
Yeah, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, we're big fans of Arrow and The Flash.
Yes,
in case you couldn't tell already.
But let's run through a quick list of the winner. At least some of the smaller categories, I'll run through them, and then when we get to the bigger ones, we'll discuss them a little bit more. Starting first with the award for sound editing went to American Sniper. Sound mixing went to Whiplash. Documentary short subject went to Crisis Hotline, Veterans Press 1. Best live action short film went to The Phone Call. Animated short went to Feast, which I actually kind of want to see, too, because I thought it was kind of interesting.
You didn't see?
Oh, that's right. It was the opening of Big Hero 6.
Yeah, I was going to say you should have seen it.
I did see it. That's right.
That was good.
It was good.
It was touching. I laughed. I cried. I had a good time.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All in 5 minutes.
There you go. The award for production design went to the Grand Budapest Hotel. Makeup and hairstyling went to Grand Budapest Hotel. And costume design went to Grand Budapest Hotel.
Let's go back to makeup real quick.
Well, it was between Grand Budapest Hotel, Foxcatcher, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So,
yeah,
obviously,
there were only 3 choices, first off.
Yeah.
How did Guardians of the Galaxy not win? Have you seen the makeup and hairstyling in that movie?
Yes, but did you see the black eye that the main character in Grand Budapest Hotel had?
Oh my God, so believable. That's difficult to do.
I know.
That is tough to pull off. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I agree. I think Guardians of the Galaxy should have gotten that one.
I mean, those type of movies never get any love at the Oscars. But, come on.
No, and Jack Black even mentioned that in the Oscar opening.
Yeah.
He mentioned how, like, the superhero movies don't really get the love that they deserve. But moving on, to what was a slam dunk in my case, one of the side categories that I picked. Cinematography went to Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
Yeah, that was easy.
It was up against Grand Budapest Hotel, Ida, Mr. Turner, and Unbroken. Grand Budapest was the only one I had seen out of all of them, and I knew Birdman. That was a lock.
Yeah.
Can I just say something too while we're on the topic of Birdman? Because Birdman is definitely going to get brought up again as we go forward. Our friends over at Head Over Feels, they were live tweeting the show last night too, and I was following and I was replying to one of them too.
Copycats.
No, trust me, they were doing it well before.
I'm sure they did it last year.
they live twat.
They live twitted.
Yeah, they live tweet a lot of stuff. So obviously a lot more than we do. They're a lot more experienced at it. Oh God.
Anytime you screw up, I'm just going to start playing it.
I know. They live tweet all the award ceremonies and stuff like that. So if we're not ever doing it, they're a good place to go. I think it's at Head Over Feels on Twitter. That's Sage and Kim over there. They brought up something and I kind of argued with them a little bit, and that's one of the great things about them is I can debate with them and, they debate right back. They were annoyed with the fact that every award with Birdman had Birdman listed as Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. They said, are we really going to use the full title all night? That's the title of the movie.
It was in, Bradley Cooper in American.
Yeah, exactly. Or Sniper, Yeah. And
Benedict Cumberbatch in The.
And their argument was, well, it's entirely too long. They should just shorten it. I'm like, well, no. The title of the movie is Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. If anything, it's not. They thought it was pretentious of them to say the full title of the movie. And I went back and I said, actually, it's not pretentious of them to say the full movie. It's lazy of us to shorten it.
It's a good point.
It's not the title of the movie.
Yeah, so I did not know up until the Oscar, or no, I guess it was the Golden Globes, but I did not realize until then that actually was the full title.
Yeah, I mean, and we're guilty of it too. We've been calling it Birdman and just the whole time too. So I mean, it's easy for something like that, but when it comes to the award,
wait, what have we called it?
Birdman. What happened to that boy?
Yeah,
I'm filling in for Steve.
Yeah. What happened to that boy?
So,
what happened to that boyhood is really more like it.
Oh, God, you tied two of them together. Bravo.
Yes.
But I think it's a little bit lazy of us. I think it would have been it's not lazy of us to do it now, because we're just a podcast. It's not anything like that.
We're simpletons.
I think, exactly. We're going to shorten it. But I think it would have been lazy of the Academy to shorten it to just Birdman.
Yeah, it's an award show. Like, if there's ever a time when you're going to use the full title, it's the Oscars.
Yes.
Or the Golden Globes or some other award show.
Or any of the award ceremonies.
The Broscars, which is the British Oscars.
The Razzies. No, it's not up for a Razzie. But moving on with some more of the awards, moving on to visual effects.
You know who should be up for a Razzie, by the way, is that baby in American Sniper.
It wasn't real. It can't be up for a Razzie.
Exactly. It's so blatantly fake. I'm surprised they didn't actually, like, you know how they do a couple jokes based on some of the movies. You know, you had Neil Patrick Harris come out in his underwear. Miles Teller was the drummer playing the drums,
which was great,
to the Birdman music, which is really cool. But I'm surprised they didn't do something with that fake baby, because I've actually seen, I think Ellen did something with the fake baby and like a couple other things. I think one of the talk shows might have done it too. It's been all over the place. I'm surprised they didn't, bring it up.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they already ran 45 minutes later than they should have.
Yeah. They really need to find a way to shorten the show. like badly.
Yeah. Yeah. Start it earlier or something.
Yeah.
Do something.
8:30 is really late. I know for all you people listening on the West Coast that for you it's 5:30, but I had work today.
I know. I know. And once the Oscars were over, I still had to watch The Walking Dead before I went to bed.
I was so amped from live tweeting for 3.5 hours that I couldn't go to bed right away.
That's why I watched The Walking Dead when the Oscars were over.
Did you live tweet that?
No, I didn't. I should have.
After you DVR'd it? I'm gonna live tweet a DVR'd show sometime.
Anyway, moving on to some more of the awards with visual effects. The winner went to Interstellar, but it was up against Captain America: Winter Soldier, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Guardians of the Galaxy, and X-Men: Days of Futures Past. A lot of heavy visual effect movies.
The tiebreaker category I almost picked.
Yeah, but you would have been wrong.
I would have been wrong. I would have picked Guardians, yeah.
Yeah. Best film editing went to Whiplash. For Tom Cross went to that. Original score went to the Grand Budapest Hotel. Yet another award for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Back to film editing, I'm a little surprised that Birdman was not even nominated in that category, because I would have thought that would have been a shoo-in for film editing.
Yeah, especially with the way the movie was shot, being one continuous shot.
Right. I think cinematography and film editing almost go hand in hand.
Well, I don't know, because was there really even a lot of editing involved?
I was going to say, maybe they didn't really have to edit.
I don't think there was a lot of editing involved in that.
Yeah, it could be.
Best foreign language film went to Ida from Poland. Steve's side category, original song, Glory from Selma, performed by John Stevens and Lonnie Lynn, a.k.a.
yeah.
John Legend and Common. Which I have to say, the performance, first off, that song deserved to win.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But the performance that they did, I had chills.
Chris Pine was crying, for God's sake.
They made Captain America cry. Or no, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk cried.
Yeah. They made Captain Kirk cry. Like, seriously.
And
David Oyelowo
speech was pretty good, too.
Yes, yeah. And the award was well deserved. And the performance was just, like I said, I had chills by the time it was over.
I actually heard Everything Was Awesome was going to win. Until that performance, they actually switched the envelopes. It was such a good performance.
Well, they could have, because Neil Patrick Harris had the key blocking his briefcase.
Yes, that is true.
So, I thought the Everything Was Awesome performance was great, too. With, the two girls. That
Lonely Island and
Lonely Island. And Will Arnett playing Batman.
Batman, yeah.
Which was great.
Two girls,
I forget their names.
Thelma and Louise. I don't remember.
Something like that. I'm not gonna.
Sarah? Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. I'm The I'm Not Gonna Miss You, performed by Tim McGraw, was really good too.
Yeah, it was. Especially after they told you what the backstory was.
Yeah. That was from the Glenn Campbell "I'll Be Me" film.
Yeah,
as well. And I know you guys were huge fans of Adam Levine singing "Lost Stars."
It really did sound like a Coldplay song.
It did. Best documentary feature went to Citizen 4.
It's an HBO film.
Is it? I don't know. I didn't see it.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Best animated feature. Here is where all three of us were wrong. We had all chosen How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the award went to Big Hero 6.
Ba-la-la-la-la-la.
Which now technically means Marvel has won an Oscar.
Yeah, you can't keep them down for that long, Stan Lee.
Best original screenplay, which was your side category.
And I lost.
You had chosen Boyhood, right?
Yes.
And the award went
Birdman.
went to Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance.
And you know what? Like when I picked it, I was like, when I made the pick last week, I was like, okay, it's a 2-horse race. It's one of those two. And then when the Oscars, like, not even before any awards were given out, but just like yesterday when we were getting ready to watch, I'm like, I really should have picked Birdman. I'm gonna lose.
Well, I think we each had a couple of those moments. Like I knew, as far as best actress, I knew I was wrong.
Yeah. Dude, Julianne Moore was the lock of the millennium.
Yeah, and I knew I was wrong picking Reese Witherspoon, but for some reason I thought, I'll go with the underdog, who the hell knows. No, you don't go with the underdog at the Oscars, it doesn't work.
Unless you're Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
I think what happened with How to Train Your Dragon 2, it's just sometimes it's tough for sequels to get that.
Well, the thing that I didn't get was that out of all the different award ceremonies leading up to the Oscars, How to Train Your Dragon was winning them all. And all of a sudden, Big Hero 6 comes out of nowhere at the Oscars, which is the biggest award out of all of them.
Maybe they did good press. I don't know.
I think Oprah money got to it.
Oprah money? God, those damn tomatoes.
I know.
She buys so many tomatoes. That's why Selma is doing so well.
Moving on, adapted screenplay went to The Imitation Game, written by Graham Moore, who, by the way, had one of the best speeches of the night.
That was a really good speech.
The Stay Weird, Stay Different speech. Which stemmed off of him talking about his personal experience as to when he almost committed suicide, which we talked about with Greg earlier tonight. One of the things that had come up.
Yeah, and I didn't tweet it because people on Twitter get offended, and I didn't want anybody to take it the wrong way. But like I'm watching that, and then he said he almost killed himself. I was like, wow, this shit just got real.
Yeah.
Like out of nowhere, like it was an acceptance speech, and then it just got like real. But no, it was a fantastic speech, and I like the Alan Turing mention, the little nod he gave to him.
Yeah, definitely. How it's not fair that he's up there and Alan Turing never got to experience anything like that for what he did.
Right.
You know. Supporting actress in a film. The nominees were Laura Dern in Wild, Keira Knightley in The Imitation Game, Patricia Arquette in Boyhood, Emma Stone in Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and Meryl Streep in Into the Woods. And the Oscar went to Patricia Arquette in Boyhood.
Is that the only award that Boyhood actually ended up getting?
It is. And funny enough that you bring that up too, this is the first year in a very, 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 very long time that all 8 of the Best Picture nominees walked away with an award.
Yeah, that's true.
Every one of them won something in some form or another, whether it was sound editing or supporting actor.
It is 2015, Ben, and much like we treat our children in sporting events now, everybody wins.
Yeah, well, when you put it that way,
everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it kind of sucks. Best Supporting Actor in a Film. The nominees were Robert Duvall in The Judge, J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, Ethan Hawke in Boyhood, Edward Norton in Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and Mark Ruffalo in Foxcatcher. If there was another lock on this category, all 3 of us picked it. J.K. Simmons in Whiplash was the winner, and I loved his speech too, telling everybody to call your mom.
Yeah.
Don't text, don't email, just call. And a funny story is I did it.
Oh, yeah?
Just because it was fun. Because I'm a smartass, and my mom knows I'm a smartass. And my mom is actually in Florida at the moment. So I called her right after that happened as we were live tweeting. I called her, and I'm like, "Hi, Mom." And she's, is something wrong? I'm like, no. J.K. Simmons told me to say hi. Told me to call you and say hi. And she's like, J.K., the actor? I was like, yeah, he just won for Best Supporting Actor, and in his award speech, he said that everybody should call their mom. And she just was silent for like a couple of seconds. Then she turns around, she's like, "You are a weird son." I said, "I know. Have fun in Florida. Bye."
Not wrong.
No.
And then I like NPH's little, like, "We are farmers" little thing. The bump it up,
Yeah.
up, up, up.
Yeah, that was great.
But, no, I mean, that was, oddly enough, this past weekend, Big Daddy was on with Adam Sandler.
Uh-huh.
And do you remember the court scene where he, like, talks to his dad and, like, everybody in the courtroom starts crying and calling their dad? I immediately thought of that scene when J.K. Simmons gave his speech. Like, everybody just starts calling him, "Dad, I love you."
Yeah. Yeah, it was the same exact way. Moving on, with Best Director, the nominees were Bennett Miller for Foxcatcher, Richard Linklater for Boyhood, Wes Anderson for Grand Budapest Hotel, Martin Tidlem for Imitation Game, and Alejandro Inarritu for Inarritu. I always say it wrong. Inarritu. I always say it wrong the first time.
By the way, you're an idiot, cause you picked Birdman for, like, all the major ones almost except for that one.
Well, I had a good feeling because Grand Budapest was winning a ton of awards.
It really did start cleaning up a lot of the minor categories.
And so I had a good feeling. I was like, oh, maybe there's a good shot that Wes Anderson is going to win for directing. Cause he's got a hand in the sound editing and the costumes and everything and the makeup. So I was like, I thought I really had a good shot. I'm happy, that Inarritu won because again, I'm a huge Birdman fan. But yeah, it cost me a point in which you were the only one to get that point.
Yes, I was.
Cause, Steve had Richard Linklater for Boyhood. So, so that cost me a point. Moving on to the big three. Best Actress in a Film. Marion Cotillard in 2 Days, 1 Night. Felicity Jones in The Theory of Everything, who I think is stunning, by the way.
Yes.
Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl, Reese Witherspoon in Wild, and Julianne Moore in Still Alice. We brought this up earlier. Julianne Moore was the lock of the century for this award, and I was the only idiot that did not pick her on my poll. So, I went with Reese Witherspoon in Wild, because I thought an underdog had a shot. And I was an idiot. So, Best Actor in a Film. The nominees were Michael Keaton in Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything, Bradley Cooper in Sniper, the American Sniper, and Benedict
we just call it Sniper now, remember.
I'm just calling it Snipe from now on. Benedict Cumberbatch in The Game. Oh, The Imitation Game. There really wasn't, with the exception of Steve Carell and Foxcatcher, because I didn't get the chance to see it, between Eddie Redmayne, Michael Keaton, Bradley Cooper, and Benedict Cumberbatch, I think they were all deserving
They were
of
all
this Oscar.
really good at those in their respective movies.
I would have loved to have seen Benedict win.
Oh, he's so fantastic.
Because we're all huge fans of his. I would have loved to have seen him win. My choice was Michael Keaton. In Birdman, you and Steve both had Eddie Redmayne, and Eddie Redmayne won the Oscar, for, Best Actor, in which, if Michael Keaton didn't get it, I'm happy Eddie Redmayne did, because he, again, we talked about this during our review. I swore at one point I was watching Stephen Hawking. Like, I wasn't watching Eddie Redmayne portray Stephen Hawking. I was watching Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he absolutely killed it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
No. And the big award of the night was Best Picture, and the nominees, in which we had seen them all and reviewed them all leading up to last night, or this past weekend. The nominees were American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel, Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. And you, both Steve and yourself, had chosen Boyhood. I had Birdman, and I won with Birdman. And I'm happy to say... What happened to that boy? I'm happy to say, and if you go back and if you remember this back when I went to the screening of Birdman last year, I said at that time, this movie is going to win Best Picture. And it's been a couple months later. I doubted myself a couple times because there are a lot of other great movies that were up against it. But I'm happy I was right. Birdman won Best Picture, and I was really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said a few weeks ago, there really out of the 8, there's probably only like half of them where if they won, I would have been like, really? You picked that movie? Like, there were a lot of really well-deserving movies this year.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
last year was easy for 12 Years a Slave. Like, that was almost as much of a slam dunk as a Best Picture as you can get last year. This year was a lot harder to choose.
Yeah, I agree. But it seemed that as we got closer to the Oscars, it seemed like it was pretty much a toss-up between Birdman and Boyhood.
Yeah, and even I looked before the Oscars, like right before, and the favorite actually was Birdman in Vegas, by a little bit.
Okay. I know, again, going back to our friends over, Sage and Kim over at Head Over Feels, they were not happy with Birdman winning, because Birdman's one of those movies that either you loved it or you hated it.
What did they want to win?
They wanted Boyhood to win.
Ugh.
And I know a couple, I think they were torn. I think one of them wanted Boyhood to win, and I think, the other one, and it's tough to tell because they both tweet from the same account, so you never know who is who. I think the other one wanted Theory of Everything to win.
Ugh.
Apparently they did not do too well on their Oscar polls last night.
Steve and I both picked Boyhood, but neither of us, would have picked Boyhood. You know what I mean? Like, if we were voting, neither of us would have voted for Boyhood. And I was talking about this yesterday. We talked about it a little bit, on the podcast. It's a really cool concept. I mean, obviously, like, a movie like this never happens, and that's why it got nominated, but, the meat and potatoes of the movie kind of lacked a little bit. I mean, the acting wasn't superb. The overall plot, like you said, it was more of a coming of age tale. There's nothing special about all that stuff. But just the concept of it is what made it so cool. And when I tweeted about, that's why it didn't win, Ben thought I was talking about Birdman and got really offended.
I didn't get offended. I got defensive. Let's be clear.
All right. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So that was the list of the awards, and as we did last year, there are some, surprises and snubs, 12 of the biggest Oscars snubs and surprises of the night. We can run through these, really quick.
Wait, did anyone mention the fact that I won?
You and Steve tied.
No, okay.
But
He's
since
not
Steve
here
is
to
not with
defend
us
himself,
tonight,
so I
exactly.
won.
so you won. I was only off by 1. The final score came down to 5 and 4. Adam and Steve tied for 5.
Supposedly,
although technically
tiebreakers were worth 2 points, but I don't see, the reason Steve is tied with me is because of the tiebreaker. So essentially, if the tiebreaker didn't even break a tie, it caused a tie, and it just makes for a really confusing pick. So I won.
Yeah, I would go with that. I agree with that. Since Steve's not here to defend himself, so yeah,
I got 5 of the big 7 correct. So
yeah, and that's a good track record. That's actually a good prediction. Some of the surprises of the night. One of the surprises, and I don't think this is a surprise at all, but Birdman for Best Picture.
No,
they're listing as a surprise. I don't think that's a big surprise.
I wasn't shocked.
No. Another surprise of the night was Inarritu for Best Director for Birdman.
Not surprised since I picked it.
Yeah, it's not really a surprise to me either. This was, to me, though, Big Hero 6 is Best Animated Film.
Yeah, that was a surprise. I think what they're talking about with Birdman, I think the bigger surprise is that Boyhood only took home 1 award.
Well, that's actually listed in the snubs.
Okay.
Excuse me. One of the biggest snub of the night was Boyhood. Boyhood had 6 Oscar nominations, but only managed to win 1 single award, and that was Patricia Arquette for Best Supporting Actress. Another one of the surprises of the night was Birdman for Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah, I was shocked. I picked Linklater.
Yeah, you picked Boyhood. Although Grand Budapest Hotel apparently was the favorite.
Really?
For Best Original Screenplay. Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, that's a.
It was considered the front runner after taking the Writers Guild award for Best Original Screenplay. Another big surprise, Grand Budapest Hotel for Best Hair and Makeup. And Oscar predictors were figuring it was going to go to Guardians.
No shit, so were the rest of us.
Or the possibility of Foxcatcher because of Steve Carell and the prosthetics that he wore. But yeah, Grand Budapest was the surprise winner of the night.
Would that take home 4 awards?
I think it's 4 or 5.
Yeah, more than I thought it would get.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the list. Another surprise of the night, Interstellar for Best Visual Effects. That
was a stat category. I mean, I'm not surprised by any of those.
The front runner of the night though was the front runner for that award was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, well, Steve said it. I mean, monkeys riding horses, not the other way around. That would be weird.
Well, the other thing they're saying about that too is they don't understand that. A lot of people are saying that it's just the Academy doesn't really understand motion capture, which is primarily what a lot of that movie is.
Well, the simple fact that through both of those movies, and I know they're really only looking at this one, but the fact that they never used a single actual monkey or ape is incredible, considering the movie is all about apes.
Andy Serkis deserves an award.
Oh, yeah.
For that.
They need to create a category just for him.
Yeah, and he would take it every time.
Oh, yeah.
He is amazing.
Like
whether it
they
was
wouldn't
Gollum
even come
and Lord
out
of the Rings.
Yeah, they wouldn't even come out with a movie that he's in and he'd still win somehow.
Yeah, and I think he's in the new Star Wars movie too, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's probably going to play Jar Jar Binks.
Oh god, that would suck so bad.
I'm sure by now he's dead.
Jar Jar, he better be.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Luke and Leia are still alive. Oh yeah, that's right. It was a prequel.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, good. Jar Jar's probably hopefully dead.
Yeah.
I don't know because I think Chewbacca's still alive out of all of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. Anyway, another surprise of the night was actually Best Editing and Best Sound Mixing both going to Whiplash. Best Sound Mixing going to Whiplash, I don't think that's much of a surprise.
No, I think I tweeted this. It's a movie about music. I mean, it better have good sound mixing and sound editing.
Yeah, I agree. Snubs, as I had mentioned, Boyhood, having 6 nominations, but only managing to win 1 single award. Another snub of the night was American Sniper. Biggest grossing movie at the year's Oscars, American Sniper, which had amassed more than $300 million at the domestic box office, only received a single Oscar for Best Sound Editing.
Yeah, that's a weird one to win, but guess beggars can't be choosy at that point.
You won something.
Yeah. Everybody wins. Remember, it's 2015.
Yeah. Another snub was Michael Keaton for Birdman, which I don't think is a big snub.
No,
Eddie Redmayne was deserving of that award.
When you look at Eddie Redmayne's performance, it's not a snub.
Yeah, since Birdman swept both picture and director, it's a little surprising that its star didn't win an Oscar as well. Keaton was an early favorite in the category until Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
In The Theory of Everything.
He won the Globe.
And he won the Screen Actors Guild and the BAFTA trophies as well.
And so did Redmayne. Redmayne won the Globe as well, because there's 2 separate categories, but...
Well, Redmayne is the one that won the Screen Actors Guild and the BAFTA.
Oh, okay. No, I meant, they each won a Globe.
Yeah, they each won one for, so I mean, at least Keaton did win something.
Yeah.
For that award.
Keaton potatoes.
And the last snub of the night was Wes Anderson for Best Director for Grand Budapest Hotel, which again was my pick, and I was kind of surprised. Even though Grand Budapest Hotel had won 4 awards, to answer your question from earlier, Anderson lost in both the directing and screenwriting categories. Like Linklater, Anderson has yet to win an Academy Award.
Huh. I don't think, speaking of Harrison Ford, I don't think he's ever won one.
I think you're right. I think Harrison Ford has not won an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Looking at the scorecard for the Oscars, as I'm waiting for that to load, it looks like Birdman walked away with tied with Grand Budapest Hotel, both for 4 awards. Whiplash with 3, and Theory of Everything, Still Alice, Boyhood, Imitation Game, Selma, American Sniper, Interstellar, Big Hero 6, Citizen 4, and Feast, all with 1 award. But the biggest winner of the night is Fox Searchlight with 8 Academy Awards.
Fox getting it done.
Yep.
Do you want to real quick just touch on the actual, Greg Proops kind of touched on it a little bit, but the actual showmanship of the Oscars, other than the fact that it was entirely too long?
Yeah, I was gonna wrap up with that and see if there were any big highlights of the night that you can remember off the top of your head.
Well, I think we kind of all saw this coming, but when they brought Idina Menzel and John Travolta back out.
Oh my God, that was fantastic.
What did she call him? Gonzo or something like that?
I tweeted it last night. If you give me 1 second, I can,
Yeah, we saw it coming. I did like NPH's intro to that where he said about Benedict Cumberbatch also being what John Travolta would be saying if he tried to say Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was damn funny. Oh, yeah. Glom Gazingo.
Glom Gazingo
was what she called John Travolta, which I thought was pretty.
Yeah, and then
you
he,
saw it coming.
her.
Yeah, there's a lot of face touching.
He also on the red carpet, I think, like kissed Scarlett Johansson. He's become a creepy old guy.
He has. Apparently, I didn't see it, but apparently John Travolta was on Jimmy Kimmel after the Oscars.
Oh, really?
And he went into the weird face touching.
Oh, jeez.
With Kimmel. I'll have to go back and watch that. I hadn't seen it.
He's become the Joe Biden of the...
Oh my God. He has.
The movie industry.
He is the Joe Biden of Hollywood.
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
That's funny.
If Joe Biden and John Travolta throw a house party, you know not to attend.
I also like to how they continued with the running joke when John Travolta said, and the nominees are, and Idina Menzel was like, "Do you want me to do it?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely funny.
And then at the end of it, after the nominees were read, he handed the envelope. He's like, "Maybe you should do it."
Yeah. And Lady Gaga's performance was a big surprise.
Let me tell you, I don't like Lady Gaga. However,
you don't?
That performance was one of the highlights of the night for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew she was talented. Piano, she plays the piano. She plays a couple instruments, I think. Vocally, she's obviously talented. She really flexed her vocal muscles last night, and without a meat dress on.
There's one thing I can say. There's one word I can use to describe Lady Gaga, that night, or at the Oscars, and that word is normal.
Yeah.
She looked great. She looked normal. She sang normal. She did nothing out of the ordinary. It was just a straight up performance. And I was speaking to some people at my job about this earlier, and I said to some people, and this is how I'll describe it, that was not Lady Gaga on stage. That was Stephanie Germanotta.
Is that her?
That is her real name. That was her. That was not Gaga at all.
Yeah.
No, there was nothing out of the ordinary. That was Stephanie Germanotta performing.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a performance I mean, if she would have pulled a Gaga, so to speak, it would have been bad. When you're trying to do a tribute to The Sound of Music, you can't throw Lady Gaga out there in a dress made of meat and whatnot and have her go bonkers.
Yeah, and I was just going to say too, for those of you that are listening that didn't get a chance to see it, Lady Gaga came out and performed a medley of songs from The Sound of Music because they were celebrating the 50th anniversary of Sound of Music this year. Yeah. And then Julie Andrews, who played the part, came out, and they had a really cool moment together, which I thought was pretty awesome. So, other than that, I can't really think of many other highlights. As Greg said during our interview with him, I love Neil Patrick Harris. I think NPH should host everything.
Yeah.
I don't fault him for the jokes that fell flat. I blame the writers.
Yeah, I think the musical number in the beginning might have been like one of the best parts of his hosting.
Yeah. He was joined by Anna Kendrick and then later on by Jack Black, which I thought was great. And obviously it's Neil Patrick Harris. He's a song and dance guy.
Yeah.
He's not going to host a show without doing some kind of musical number.
And magic,
which I think that trick kind of fell flat by the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Overall, it wasn't my favorite Oscar performance.
The thing with that, and I was talking about this with somebody earlier, nothing like really big or like newsworthy really happened. I mean, it was kind of just a normal awards ceremony. You know what I mean? Like no Adele Dazeem type of thing happened, and nothing really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. So,
it was 3.5 hours of normalcy.
Yeah, it's
because they went over. I mean, what was it like?
Oh God, like 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of had to rush the last 3 or 4 awards, and you could tell. I mean, they took their grand old time when they were doing cinematography and makeup and design, but once you got to the real good ones, they're like, okay, the winner's this. Okay, the winner's this.
Yeah.
All right, the winner's this.
I will say one of my other favorite moments of the night too, before we wrap this up. There was a moment where NPH was walking through the audience talking to seat fillers.
Yeah, that was cool.
And he got to Steve Carell and started talking to him as if he was Steve Carell. And he said, is there anybody you're looking forward to meeting to? And he's like, Edward Norton. He's right over there. Which I thought was great.
Yeah,
Leave it to Steve Carell to do that. So, which was great. But yeah, so another Oscar performance. Our second one for the Showcast.
Yep.
So, kind of sucked not having Steve with us here tonight, but we got through the recap.
I think next year we go all out and we pick every category.
I think so too. I think we do a full-on pool. It tends to be what a lot of other people do. So we do a full-on pool. And I think maybe, depending on how many listeners we have by that point and any sponsors or anything like that, I think maybe we choose 3 listeners to back one of us, and whichever one of us wins, that listener wins a prize.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, if this year is a lesson to anybody, you better pray to God you get me.
You won by 1 point. Out of
2
7.
points. 2 points. If we take out the tiebreaker, it would have been 2 points. Oh wait, no, because then you had it would have been 2 points. Because if you take out your tiebreaker, you would have lost by more.
All right, you lost. Shut up.
Sorry for making sense.
So, all right, we gotta get ready to wrap things up. It's getting late with us recording. But let's stumble into the weird of the week before we wrap things up.
And now the Next Level Showcast presents the Weird of the Week.
All right, we'll start off with a movie who won, I believe, I'm almost positive, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure it won Best Animated Picture last year, Frozen, Disney's Frozen. South Carolina police arrest Elsa the Snow Queen. Solve cold case. You get that? Solve cold. This is off the Huffington Post, by the way.
Arrest or issue an arrest warrant?
It says arrest.
How do you arrest Elsa? She's a cartoon.
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
Police in Hanahan, South Carolina arrested Elsa from Disney's Frozen earlier this week on suspicion of bringing an unusually frigid cold snap to the area. Officers arrested Elsa, who also goes by the alias Snow Queen, as she allegedly attempted to freeze a fountain at Hanahan City Hall. By the way, there's a picture here. You can go on Huffington Post to see it. It's a woman dressed as Elsa. The Snow Queen was released without charges, however, when the fountain she was accused of freezing thawed before it could be presented as evidence. The humorous stunt was orchestrated by Tammy Sakalis of Sakalis Photography and Glass Slipper Productions, an events company in Hanahan that arranges for princesses to visit birthday parties and children's hospitals. Glass Slipper Productions owner Lindsay Page told the Huffington Post they were inspired by police in Kentucky who issued an arrest warrant for Elsa last week over the criminally cold weather there. She added that Hanahan Police Department was very gracious to participate in the 10-minute long photo shoot with actress Courtney Faisley. According to Glass Slipper's Facebook post, Elsa ultimately was sentenced to community service for her mischief. This kind of goes back to the what was it, an arrest warrant issued for the groundhog?
Yeah, for Punxsutawney Phil.
Story that we had the other week. And there you can go on, like I said, HuffingtonPost.com. There's actually pictures of this lady dressed as Elsa trying to freeze the fountain, and then police putting pink handcuffs on her and taking her into, I believe, a cop. Yeah, she was getting into a cop car. So if you want to scar your children, just go ahead and show them this. Next up, lastly, we have a man who allegedly goes into a rampage at a salon over the price of a haircut. Only in Stamford, Connecticut, this will happen. A man who was unhappy with his haircut faces criminal charges after police say he became enraged and threw items around a Connecticut salon. That's dangerous, man.
Yeah.
You're throwing items at a haircut place. They're usually pretty sharp.
Yeah, it's like scissors and things like, and braids and things like that.
Yeah. Stanford Police Sergeant Kelly Connolly says 47-year-old Alan Becker was angered further when he learned the trim he got Wednesday morning was going to cost him $50. Connolly says Becker kicked a hole in a salon wall, became hostile towards staff and customers, and threw a candle display and other items, then left. Police say Becker returned later and demanded his hair be fixed, but the salon refused. Authorities then later arrested Becker on breach of peace and criminal mischief charges at his Stanford home. A recording on a phone listing for Becker said it couldn't receive the messages. It's not clear if he has a lawyer. I will say this, $50 is kind of a lot for a haircut, so I'm not sure what he thought he was getting, or what, but I've never paid $50 for a haircut in my life. Ben hasn't paid $50 for a haircut or any dollars for a haircut in quite some time.
No, I just pay for razors every once in a while.
Which actually probably costs close to $50. Those things are damn expensive, but.
No, I actually, I get a pretty good deal from a website I go through.
Oh, okay.
It costs me like $30 and I get enough razors to last me like 4 months.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so I don't ever have to worry about it.
But yeah, $50 for, I mean, I just got my hair cut last week. Let me tell you the story. So, it's I don't know if it is a chain locally. I don't know if it's a national chain, but, they have like a phone app where you can check in prior to going so that, you know, you don't have to wait in there the whole time. So you can like check in, leave your house, and that counts as part of your wait time. So this was, I get done work at 7 p.m. So, I checked in at like 10 of 7 to see how long the wait would be. And like a couple of the other ones on the map were like 5 minutes, 4 minutes. The one that's on my way home said 50 minutes.
Really?
Wait for, at 7 o'clock at night. So I checked in and it was crowded there. And then I got there and I found out why, because they were having a sale. It was $6.99 for a haircut.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, you know, I waited like 10 minutes, but I got my hair cut for $7.
That's not bad.
And gave a tip. When was the last time you actually got a haircut?
It's been a while.
1984?
No, shut up. It hasn't been that long. It's probably, cause even before I started shaving my head, I was still buzzing my head down really short, and I was doing that myself too. So it's probably been, since the last time I've been to a barbershop, cause I never went to a stylist. I always just went to a barbershop. It's probably been a good, 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
Since I've been to a barbershop of any kind. And even then, I was still paying just for a buzz cut, you know?
Yeah.
It was just easier than doing it myself.
Yeah, with tip, I usually give like $2 tip, $2 or $3, to stylist or whoever cuts my hair that day.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, so with that, it was still under $10. So I'm like, well, I guess that's why I had to wait a little bit, but yeah, it was worth it.
I was gonna say, it's probably worth the wait than,
yeah, because a lot of places, I think guys' haircuts should be cheap as hell. Like, you can cut my hair in 15 minutes, if that. And that's not just a straight buzz, that's actually like different lengths and all that stuff. I mean, the other places, I've gone to a place and it was like $18. Like, screw that, I'm not paying that much.
I think it depends on what you're getting. If you have a big waft of hair and you're getting like a big, like,
right,
Pauly D style haircut.
You know what?
First off, you should be shot for getting a Pauly D style haircut.
That is correct. You know what? Let's open a haircut place where the hair that you cut falls onto like a scale and you pay per like ounce or something.
Really?
Don't you think that's a great idea? I'm being serious. You think I'm kidding?
No, I don't think that's a good idea. Mainly for the main reason that if you're going from a big head of hair down to a buzz cut, it doesn't take much just to buzz your head. So why should you have to pay for all that hair if all you did was get like a 5-minute buzz cut and a trim?
You're an idiot.
You know what I mean?
Don't know. I have no argument for that.
Cause you know I'm right. That's another point
on a technicality.
That ties me in the Oscar pool.
Yeah, right. You don't know how to use Twitter, so you automatically lost like 5 points for that. So
look, it was our first time live tweeting.
Let's not get into it.
It was our first time live tweeting. So there you go.
Always hurts the first time.
That's just a weird comment to bring up.
I didn't think you were going to pick up on it at first.
No, I got it. I got it. Anyway, thanks again for Greg Proops for joining us on this podcast this week. He was a lot of fun to talk to. That was a great interview. And it was really cool getting to talk to him about the Oscars and stuff like that too.
No, yeah, definitely.
So, also, trying to think of, there's nobody else we really have to thank. Well, we got to thank Steve for joining us for the past couple weeks, for all the Oscar reviews and things like that. And hopefully we'll keep having him on because he's been a great addition to the Showcast. So if he wants to keep sticking around, we'll absolutely have him.
Yeah.
We'll have him.
No guest as of yet lined up for next week. Which, I'm okay with if we take a week off. We've been going, how many weeks straight is that?
We're 7 for 7.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah, definitely a hot start this year.
We have a couple people we could probably reach out to last minute if we really want to have somebody on during the week.
Yeah. I mean, we already have, one lined up. We were supposed to have Maya Erskine on a couple weeks ago. We will actually have her on the, March 15th podcast. So that one's already lined up. So, I mean, we still got a lot of people that we're working on getting. So,
yeah. And I went back and I listened to you guys' interview with Nick Clifford from Hindsight too. I'm really bummed that I didn't have internet to be a part of that because that was a good interview.
Yeah, he was really cool to talk to. I told him, and he said he would. He'd come back on like either later in the season or if there's a season 2. I mean, he was more than willing to jump back on with us.
Yeah. So, I'm glad we were able to get Greg on tonight. We were losing hope there for a little bit.
Yeah, I almost went to bed.
Yeah, thinking we weren't going to have him. But he was a great guest. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. We will be back with another Showcast podcast next week. With myself and Adam, maybe Steve. We'll see how things play out for next week. Not sure if there's a guest, so definitely keep an eye out on our Facebook page, facebook.com/nextlevelradioonline, and our actual website, www.nextlevelradioonline.com, as well as our Twitter at NXTLevelRadio. Keep an eye out if something changes and we do have a guest next week. That is where you will find out, either the Facebook page, Twitter, or our webpage. So, I think that is it. I think that's going to wrap it up for this week, unless you have anything to add.
I have nothing.
All right. In that case, enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you around the bend, guys. Take care.
Later.